Hey ladies, it's Jennelle Sherman, and I wanted to share with you a word that God gave me really over the last few months, but specifically powerful this morning in my quiet time, and then during our corporate time of prayer on the Well property today with my Well sisters. This morning in 1 Kings chapter 17, I read about Elijah and the fact that God called him very specifically to go to this brook, a body of water, where he would be able to receive water from God, and God would provide, food for him through the ravens. And in that time, ravens were an unclean animal, so I'm sure that was humbling to Elijah to have to do that. And then he was able to see God's provisions for food through the raven, as well as water from the brook. But then the brook dried up, and God told him to go to this widow who was a Gentile, who was a very poor lady. And I'm sure he was thinking maybe God was sending him to somebody who had money, had food and supplies, but that wasn't the case. And yet Elijah went, and he was obedient. And God used very specific words in different translations, and God spoke a very good word to me. But he said to Elijah, I wrote it down, I'm just going to look at my words here, but he said to Elijah, "Get out of here and fast." And at that moment, God spoke to me, just go quick, go fast, go now. And Elijah didn't hesitate. He went and stayed by the brook. He went and was with the widow, and God provided everything that he needed. For me, over the last almost 2 years, God has been confirming in me that my call, the call in my life, is to marriage ministry, that I am supposed to go and help, especially specifically Christian marriages, to thrive and to represent God well and to have an impact on the rate of divorce. And so that is the call in my life. But last year, my husband his job really in 2020 was very affected by COVID, and I had to become the breadwinner for my family over the last year and a half, making more money than my husband, working more hours than my husband, and not being able to really answer that call in my life that God had placed on me. So I began making TikToks. I know it sounds silly, but it's what I started to do because it was the only thing that I could really do. I only had an hour each day. And so I began making those TikToks for 7 seconds, up to 60 seconds, because people have no attention span, and began putting those out on marriages. And what I was able to see was thousands of people every month were responding. My account began growing by about 10,000 followers every month, and to the point where it's at now at about 160,000 followers. I kept on praying, like, God, show me how I can get out of this job. Show me how I can have more hours in the day to be able to answer the call in your life. And he was faithful. In March, I left my job, March 1st. As of March 1st, I'm no longer working for that company that was consuming my whole life. And I knew that I needed to begin to write content for the courses that God was calling me to have online for other people, tools and resources in their marriage. And so I began doing that in March. I wrote a course, and God gave me 3 words: commitment, communication, and connection. And I taught that course on Zoom. I was so thankful for the women that God brought into that Zoom class, for the testimonies that I heard, and just for the confirmation in my soul that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It was energizing, like I can't even explain. Then in April, I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Ohio with several of my Well sisters, where God continued to confirm that call in my life, but he also revealed why I wasn't going fast and now as he had asked me to do. You see, I was ashamed. I was embarrassed of my own marriage testimony. And in fact, in February, my brother and his wife were having a lot of issues, and I confronted my sister-in-law and was sharing with her how I felt she was being the foolish woman, tearing down her own house. And she proceeded to tell me, "Who are you to give me marriage advice? When you stepped out on your marriage, you're an adulteress. Stay in your own lane." Those words pierced my heart, because to me, I'm a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come, and I know that in my head that the Lord has redeemed those areas. And it's been over a decade since I was that wayward wife, and I no longer identify as that. But for some reason, it pierced me, it hurt me, it wounded me, and kept me stagnant and not moving forward fast or now. So when I went to Ohio, the Lord really redeemed that for me on Palm Sunday, and just throughout the weekend. On Friday, as women were sharing their testimonies, I was really shallow with the testimony that I shared. I didn't go into full details. I just shared that my marriage was messed up, that God redeemed it, and that now I was feeling the call was marriage on my life, and that I was going to have a marriage ministry of some sort. And that's all I shared. And the Lord really convicted me that night. Really, Jennelle, that's all you're going to share? You're not going to bring glory to my name and share the full story of the hope and the redemption that I've brought into your life, into your marriage. Then on Saturday, we went and sat with a gentleman named RH. And he was able to just speak his testimony and share his truth that was very difficult for him to share, that somebody might be ashamed or embarrassed to share. And God again spoke to me, see, Jennelle, I use this. I use your brokenness for the healing and the hope for other people. And then on Sunday, the pastor at the church that we visited called us to examine our hearts, and he called us to envision ourselves with Jesus riding in on the donkey on that Palm Sunday. If Jesus looked me in the eyes, what would he say to me? And it was a powerful moment where the Lord spoke to me really clearly. Like, don't you think I was ashamed and embarrassed and humiliated, spit on, hung on a cross to die practically naked? But yet I was victorious. I am victorious. And he reminded me of my victory through what he had done at the cross and how it's finished. And so that empowered me to go fast and go now. I came home from that Ohio trip just excited and invigorated to do what God had called me to do. But of course, Satan had other plans. My pastor lost his wife. My friend lost her brother. And I just began to put myself in kind of a funk and a depression, just dwelling on past things. The loss of my mother, the difficulties going on in my family and in friends all around me. Another friend lost her mom shortly after, and I just kind of got in a funk, and I realized I was not going fast, and I was not going now. And that has continued until this day, that the Lord has given me this scripture, 1 Kings chapter 17. And when he spoke to Elijah, Elijah was obedient. And not only did he go quick, not only did he go fast, but he went now. He went there right when God called him. And it wasn't maybe where Elijah would have wanted to be. It wasn't the path or the plan that Elijah might have originally had, but he was obedient to the Lord. And through his obedience, he was able to increase the faith of the widow. He was able to see God's provisions and resources come his way. So I want to encourage you, ladies, whatever it is that God is calling you to, we all have a call in our lives. If nothing else, discipleship is the call on your life. So go quick, go fast, and go now.